The views and opinions expressed in the following program do not necessarily reflect the policies and the position of Now You Know.
Good evening. Today is August 2, 2020, and welcome to Legal Basis, where we examine the country's most pressing legal issues with the help of our Filipino lawyers. I am Shari Olikino, and tonight we talk about the law.
On Wednesday, 19 bloggers and online influencers filed the 21st petition against the controversial Anti-Terrorism Act of 2020. Collectively known as the Concerned Online Citizens, this group of petitioners urged the Supreme Court to protect internet freedom and to junk the new anti-terror law. Petitioners say that they embody the 73 million online Filipinos whose right to freedom of expression may be stifled due to the unconstitutional provisions of the newly passed law. Groups of lawmakers, lawyers, journalists, students, Muslims, and activists have also filed petitions calling for the review and prohibition of the anti-terror law.
Joining us live via Skype is the legal counsel of the Concerned Online Citizens, and he is also the current dean of the San Sebastian Graduate School of Law. Walang iba kundi si Rodel Taton. Good evening sa inyo, Dean, and welcome po sa Legal Basis.
Good evening, Shari. Good evening to all the viewers of Now You Know and Legal Basis. Magandang gabi po sa lahat.
Ayan, at makakasama rin natin ngayong gabi ang dalawa sa 19 na miyembro ng Concerned Online Citizens. Unfortunately, hindi ho natin makakasama ngayong gabi si Sir McCoy due to a change in his schedule. Pero huwag kayong mag-alala dahil kasama natin ngayong gabi sa ating talakayan si Aling Marie. Magandang gabi po sa inyo at maraming salamat sa pagpapaunlak sa aming imbitasyon. Aling Marie? Aling Marie? Naku, hindi natin naririnig ngayon si Aling Marie dahil nakamute siya. Papakilala ko na lamang ang ating isa pang panauhin, no? Isa rin siyang membro ng Concerned Online Citizens. Isa siyang columnist and blogger. Walang iba kundi si Mr. Tonyo Cruz. Good evening sa inyo, Sir Tonyo, and welcome po sa ating programa.
Good evening, Attorney Shari. Good evening sa lahat ng mga nanonood at nakikinig. Good evening kay Dean, sa kay Aling Marie.
Ayan. Hopefully, yung attorney na yan makuha natin. Yung attorney title sometime in the future. Ayan. Good evening po sa inyong lahat. Aling Marie, okay na ho ba? Magandang gabi po sa inyo.
Po.
Ayan. Magandang gabi po sa inyo. Aling Marie.
Magandang gabi po sa lahat, attorney. At sa inyo, mga bata. Maraming salamat sa pag-invite sa akin. Magandang hapon or gabi na. Thank you.
Ayan. Ngayon, yung una ko pong katanungan ay para kay Dean Rodel. Now, Dean, just to set things clear, no, as we start the conversation, how do we define internet freedom? Ano-ano po ba ang mga limitations nito, kung meron man?
Yes, we know that internet freedom is protected under our Constitution, and in fact, we have internationally and in the Philippines, we recognize the fact that internet is part of our freedom, is part of our protected right. And kung titignan natin ang ating Universal Declaration of Human Rights and Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, and even the Constitution would provide for great protection on the internet and the freedom of expression and of the press and freedom of speech, of course.
All right. Now, Dean, how will this freedom and right be affected by the implementation of the Anti-Terrorism Act of 2020?
I think we have to look at the use of internet at this time. At this time of the pandemic, we know that even our government institutions, our courts are using the internet already, and in fact, the Supreme Court is doing its functions online. Even the new lawyers were able to take oath using the internet as well, and even in education and other parts of our institutions are using the internet, and there is no no best time to emphasize the usefulness of the use of internet but today. And it is timely that this anti-terrorism act was passed this July, and it became effective on July 18th, 2020. And for the Filipinos who are heavy users of the social media, for instance, based on a survey, the Filipinos, or 76 million Filipinos, are using the internet, and that cannot be denied, because out of that's how many percent already, like 70+% as well of the population of the Philippines, and everyone has a Facebook account, a Twitter, or even TikTok, and all of these will be affected by the passage of the Anti-Terrorism Act of 2020, and the limitations that it can put into the use of our freedom of expression and of speech, and even of the press. And this concerned online citizens situated, or are so situated in a position that would call for a protection at this time.
All right. Ngayon, it's very clear, no, from Dean Rodriguez, internet dito rin sa ating bansa, maliban sa mga online netizens, even yung government, ginagamit nila itong platform, no, to provide services din para sa mga tao. Ngayon naman, ang susunod kong mga katanungan ay para sa mga miyembro ng Concerned Online Citizens. First, this one is for Sir Tonyo. Maaari po ba ninyong sabihin sa amin kung ano nga ba itong Concerned Online Citizens?
Well, naghanap lang kami ng pangalan para sa sarili namin. At gusto naming makapture kung anong gusto naming ipaabot sa Korte Suprema, na dami ng mga abogado na nag-file, ang dami ng mga samahan na nag-file, at inapag nila sa korte yung kanilang mga karaingan, yung kanilang mga reklamo. So sa bahagi ng Concerned Online Citizens, we wanted to communicate to our justices that the protection that people seek are not just for offline, not just for the unions, the student councils, face-to-face interaction between people and government, and people, businesses, and education. Pero yung pati na rin dun sa online. Nabanggit nga ni Attorney, we already do a lot of things online. And all these activities and interactions, especially with government, there should be a protection. And we are very concerned. We are very concerned that, for example, the Anti-Terrorism Council will just whimsically ban any one of us online as terrorists just because we say something objectionable on the part of the government. So talagang concerned kami, lalong-lalo na nakita naman namin na even before the signing by the president of this, talagang binabrand yung mga kritiko ng ating pamahalaan na kung ano-ano mga pangalan, binabansagan. So yun, kaya nagsama-sama kami, at yun yung gusto naming ipakita sa court, na not just concerned citizens, but concerned online citizens are asking the court for clarification and protection.
All right. Now, your question is actually the 21st na, no, against the anti-terror law. Para sa inyo, Aling Marie, ano ho ang inyong hugot? Ano ang inyong motivation sa pagsama sa petisyon na ito?
Para sa akin, bilang maliit na mamamayan na naghahangad ng kaligtasan, proteksyon, at pati na makatwiran na paggamit ng batas, ay aking isinusulong ang petisyon kong ito sapagkat napakarami ng nabibiktima, hindi pa man na itatatag ang terror bill na iyan. Hinihiling ko lang sa ating mga mambabatas, sa mga nagpapatupad ng batas at pati na rin sa ating mga nagja-judge na sana unahin nyo namang pakiramdaman ng kapakanan ng maliliit, lalong-lalo na yung mga nakukulong ng walang sala, dinadampot ng walang sala, pinagbibintang nga na gumagawa ng katarantaduhan kahit hindi, at ginagamitan ng anti-terror bill na iyan. Samantalang ang anti-terror bill sa aking pananaw ay ginagamit lang sa mga terorista na nagwawalang hiya sa bayan, subalit hindi ang mamamayan ang teroristang yan. At ang gusto ko lang po sana, maipabatid sa lahat na kaya umaayaw ako sa terror law na ito. Sapagkat marami na akong nasaksihan na kaawa-awa. Unang-una na, yung Bunyog 11 na naging biktima ng terror law na ito, na wala namang kasalanan ay kanilang pinagdadampot at ikinulong, samantalang ang mga taong ito ay a-attend lang sana sa SONA, sa UP Diliman, no? Ano ang malaking pagkakamali ng mga tao para gamitan ng anti-terror law na ito? Ito ay aking inihahayag sapagkat ako man ay nakaranas ng mga panghaharas sa Facebook. Ang Facebook na ito dapat ay ginagamit sa mabuti, hindi ginagamit na panakot, hindi ginagamit na ipanakit ng damdamin ng kapwa Pilipino. Dapat tayong mga Pilipino ay inilalagay sa tama na may proteksyon at ang nagpo-proteksyon ay dapat nasa tama ring batas ang pamamalakad. Hindi tayo mga terorista.
Alright, ang tapang ng statement ni Aling Marino at napakalinaw. Hindi terorista ang mga mamamayang Pilipino. Now we go back to Dean Rodel. Dean, we have established that this petition concerns the ordinary netizens na ginagamit na platform talaga ang social media to express, to criticize several policies of the government. Ngayon, para naman sa kaalaman ng ating mga online viewers, ano-ano nga ba ang mga karapatan natin bilang mga social media users?
I think it's basic that as a social media user, kailangan natin na obserbahan pa din ang ating language and ating speech, because you remember, Shari, that our rights offline are also available online, and that is one reason why we wanted this to be emphasized as compared to the other petitioners in this particular case before the Supreme Court. The concerned online citizens are so situated that they wanted to protect an ordinary individual who is using social media as a means of communication, as a means of bringing news, as a means of bringing education to those who do not understand the current policies of the government. And that would also bring about opinions on certain policies, and that could bring discourse to our countrymen, so that our countrymen would be able to understand what is currently happening in the country. And I think making the people understand the policy of the government in such a way that would include criticism is part of the process, is part of democracy, and it's part of the freedoms that we have to enjoy offline or online. And with this particular case of concerned online citizens, we are bringing this to the level of maturity, in the sense that Filipinos should understand the function and role of social media, that it is not simply to be used as part of a propaganda, as part of a something that would criticize individuals just for nothing. Many of these concerned online citizens who filed this particular case have been harassed online, have received trash talks, have received special shout outs and even threats of being killed, or even threats of being silenced, including including their families, including their friends. And this is very alarming, because with the current Anti-Terrorism Act, this particular individuals, not only this concerned online citizens, but all of us who will be able to, who would speak sometimes against a certain policy of the government, which is not for our opinion, for our own analysis, would be against the stand of the administration. Others would use this as a venue to criticize you, to personally attack you, and even threaten you. Or worse, you can even be tagged as a terrorist, or you can be tagged as a terrorist sympathizer, especially that the definitions of terrorism and acts constituting terrorism are so broad, are so vague, and for us, it would be interpreted in so many ways by the enforcement officers. And that is one problem that we wanted to cure by this petition, that we wanted that the implementation of the law, the enforcement of the law would be clear, and that is guiding our implementers, guiding our enforcement officers in their proper function as officers of the law. And we have to those we are giving we are giving the law enforcement officers an option to define, or an option to regard this particular act as a terroristic act or a terroristic activity. And that while it is online, while these activities of our petitioners in this particular case would be online, this can easily be monitored. In fact, there is current monitoring already that is being done in social media. In the past, there were policies of the government that that made it look into social media as a tool also to check on the freedoms of individuals. As a matter of fact, there are already Filipinos who were caught, arrested because of the statements made in social media like Twitter, Facebook, and a lot more will happen with this particular definitions of the law.
All right. Now, attorney, let's talk more about the Anti-Terrorism Act. No, nabanggit sa petisyon na merong mga unconstitutional provisions dito sa batas. No, can you state some of them?
Um, yes. Before I go to the points that we raised in the petition, we wanted to emphasize here that we do not support terrorism at all. We know that terrorism as an act is an international crime. It's a transnational crime that is an obligation of all states to everyone, that we have to stop terrorism, and that in no way we have to support terrorism, because it will put into uh, put aside the rights of our fellow men and individuals around the world. Here, but there are individuals who are using the internet in the proper way, and that they can be used uh, as or internet can be used a tool of repression. And as to your question, Carrie, we are going to the question of terrorism in section 4, and the acts of terrorism in 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, sections 5 to 12 of
Mm-hmm.
the Terror Act, and many others. Because we know, we here 4 to 12, for instance, would be the definition of terrorism, and there are vague. They are vague as compared to the Human Security Act that we have before this particular law. The crimes there are properly defined and are properly related to the acts in the revised penal code or other special laws. But here there is some sort of a generalization that for us, you alam mo yun, that the law should be properly defined, because how can we say that ignorance of the law excuses no one when the law itself cannot be understood, and cannot be understood by ordinary citizens. And the definitions. We have to always go back to the definition of the law. And here, if we and we have to remember that Anti-Terrorism Act is a criminal law. Remember, it is the law that an individual will be caught violating or who will be subjected to arrest for more than a period of time as allowed under the revised penal code. They can be incarcerated for a certain period of time, and as a penalty also there is imprisonment or even more. And here the definition and even the penalties are not simple. These are serious offenses, and if you wanted the people to understand the law, I think the basic definitions should always be clear and should always.
So Dean, you're saying that the law is vague, no, and it needs to be more. It needs to be clearer para mas maintindihan ng mga mamamayan. Ngayon, I would like to ask din pareho sina Sir Tonyo and of course si Aling Marino. A while ago, I asked Dean kung ano-ano ba ang karapatan ng isang social media user. Na kayong dalawa ko ay mga online influencers sa ngayon. So, ano-ano nga ba ang karapatan natin bilang mga online users, bilang mga social media users?
Shari, Shari, walang difference yung rights natin online or offline. We should not be less free when we are online. Sabi mismo ng Article 19 ng Universal Declaration of Human Rights, yung right to free expression natin goes beyond frontiers. Beyond frontiers and whatever medium that we choose. So, ibig sabihin, yung karapatan nating magpahayag tungkol sa anumang issue na mahalaga sa atin, nag-stay yun sa atin, whether nasa dyaryo tayo, nasa TV, o nagkasalita tayo sa ating blog, sa Facebook, o sa Twitter. Dapat protected yon ng ating batas. Kasama rin dun sa ating right, for example, yung right to association. Pwede tayong magtayo ng ating mga organizations or communities kahit saan. Whether sa barangay natin, sa opisina, sa school, at mismo sa internet. Pwede tayo karapatan natin na magtayo ng ating mga Facebook pages at Facebook groups. Part yun. Yung isa pa, yung right to free access. So, karapatan ng mga tao na magtipon. Yung kasaysayan, halimbawa, yung history ng mga kalsada, yung streets, historically, it belonged to the people. People gathered in the streets to talk about what's happening in their lives. Hanggang sa makakarating yan sa mga mambabatas nung panahon ng Rome hanggang ngayon. So kapag halimbawa sa barangay, karapatan natin yun na kung may nangyayari, maglalabasan tayo sa ating bahay, mag-uusap tayo ng ating mga kapitbahay. Ganon din online. The exact same set of the Bill of Rights at yung Universal Declaration of Human Rights, they all apply online. Halimbawa, yung mga sumumpa na mga bagong abogado online, hindi sila less of a lawyer dahil ginawa yun online. The exact power of the court as before inducted them as members of the bar. So, dapat yung full protection din ng batas ibigay sa lahat, paibigay at maigaranti ng Supreme Court. So, yun. Right to free expression, right to free association, right to assembly, right to conduct all the things that we want to conduct, right to do everything that we want to do. All of those rights should be applicable online. At yung pinaka-importante, yung right to due process. The right to due process. Yung isang gusto kong i-emphasize dito, the president enjoys immunity from suit. The president cannot be sued. But look at all these supporters of the president threatening citizens of cyber libel, of all sorts of crimes supposedly committed against the president. But the president himself cannot be sued. Lin Silawan, yung OFW sa Taiwan, sabi ng labor attaché, papadeport ka namin kasi you committed cyber libel against the president. Pero teka lang, is the president himself suing Lin Silawan? Kasi if he is doing that, we will demand that the president give up his immunity. So yung ganon, everything and anything about our rights, they are the same set of freedoms. Internet freedom is the same as our rights offline.
Binabasa yung Ayan, nagkaroon lang tayo ng maliit na technical difficulty. Ngayon, tinatanong natin kanina si Aling Marina, meron ng malawak na impluwensya sa social media ngayon. Ano-ano nga ba yung mga karapatan sa inyong palagay bilang isang social media user?
Para sa akin, lahat naman tayo ay may karapatang gumamit ng social media. Kasi ipinauso ang social media para magkaroon tayo ng madali ang komunikasyon sa bawat isa. Wala kasi, sulat-sulat lang, tapos telepono, cellphone. Ngayon, social media. Para sa akin, ang pananaw ko sa social media, gamitin ito ng tama. Okay lang mag-dismissan, pero dapat tama. Okay lang magbiro kung karapat-dapat na magbiro sa oras na yan. Hindi ka dapat magbiro sa social media sa gitna ng pandemic, sa gitna ng mga pagpapanik ng tao, at sa gitna ng paghihirap at paghihimagsik ng kalooban ng tao. Sapagkat ang biro ay inilalagay sa tama, lalo na kung yan ay sa social media itinataan. Sapagkat sa social media, buong mundo ang nakakabasa niyan. Itago mo man yan, hindi mo maitatago. So, ang gusto ko lang sana sa paggamit ng social media ay mga salitang karapat-dapat, tama, hindi kasinungalingan at nanggagaling sa kaibuturan ng iyong puso at tunay mong nararanasan. Para magsalita ka man, boljakin ka man, meron kang laban. Sapagkat katotohanan yung sinasabi. Bawal magsinungaling sa social media. Sapagkat kapag nalaman ka na ikay isang sinungaling, wala nang maniniwala sa'yo. Diba?
Alright.
So, karapatan natin ang gumamit ng social media, ultimo batang maliit. Karapatan nila yan. Pero sa atin, na mga nakakaunaw at nakakaintindi, ang social media ay hindi dapat ginagamit sa mga katarantaduhan, sa mga pananakot, sa mga pagsisinungaling, sa mga pagbibiro ng walang kasaysayan, at yung mga salitang gustong paniwalaan pero ang katotohanan ay puro katarantaduhan. Yan ang hindi dapat gamitin sa social social media. Ang paggamit ng social media ay ginagamitan ng disenteng kilos, disenteng pananalita, kapani-paniwala, at yung tatanim sa utak ng mamamayan. At dapat ang iyong mga sasabihin sa social media ay kahanga-hanga sa ikabubuti, sa ikagaganda, at sa ikaaaliw ng lahat. Hindi yung ikagagalit, ikabubwisit, itatanim sa utak nila yung mga hindi naman dapat itanim. Yan ang hindi dapat ginagamitan ng social media. Ang social media ay para sa lahat, gamitin sa tama. Yun lang.
Tama. Ang galing talaga nito ni Aling Marino maghayag ng kanyang mga sentimento. Tama ho. Ang kanyang paalala ay gamitin sa tama ang social media. Ngayon ho, nabanggit ni Attorney kanina na ang ilan sa ating mga petitioners ay nakaranas ng harassment online dahil sa kanilang mga pinost na statements, pinost na video, etc. Para po kay Sir Tonyo at kay Aling Marino, sa ano-anong mga pagkakataon ho ninyo ito naranasan? Ano po yung content na inilabas ninyo online na siyang naging dahilan para i-harass kayo o i-intimidate kayo online?
Marami actually. Dahil isa akong kolumnista at medyo active sa social media, merong undersecretary dyan, sa isang tabi dyan na talagang pinaborito ko, inalayan pa ako ng column nun at marami siyang pinagsasabi. Actually, ang sabi ng ibang mga kaibigan ko, libelous yung mga pinagsusulat ng undersecretary ng KSP. Hindi na lang natin siya babanggitin dito. Pero lahat ng sinulat niya doon ay naglalagay sa akin sa panganib. The entire article endangers me because I've been tagged as terrorist. Meron ding mga Facebook messages na may mga death threats. Mayroong mga picture ng mga pamangkin ko at mga kamag-anak ko. So, dapat hindi yun nangyayari. Dapat malaya tayong makapagpahayag ng ating pananaw, makipag-debate at makipag-diskusyon sa ating mga opisyal. Dapat walang gano'n na pananakot. So, maraming instances na siguro in the next few pleadings na pagpunta namin sa court, mahahayag yun ni Dean Rodel.
Alright. Kayo naman ho, Aling Marie, nabanggit po ninyo earlier na nakaranas din ho kayo ng harassment and intimidation online dahil po sa mga pinost ninyong content, no? Pwede po bang i-elaborate po ninyo, ikwento ho ninyo sa amin, paano ho ito nangyari?
Nagsimula akong magreklamo sa mga nangyayari sa ating gobyerno. Nito na lang huli. Siguro mga 2016 kasi nagsimula ang ating gobyerno ngayon. 17, 18, 19. Mga time na yan, medyo nakikiramdam pa ako. At sa dami ng aking mga nababasa sa social media, ako ay medyo nadadala. No? Nadadala na ako. Umiiktad-iktad na yung damdamin ko sa galit. At nagpo-post na ako ng mga salitang marami namang nagla-like kasi tama ang sinasabi ko, ano? Then, ito na, ngayon na, bago mag-2020, meron na mga nambabash sa akin sa mga komento, no? Minumura ko, kesyo ako na daw maging presidente, kesyo ganito, ganoon, ganyan. Okay lang, pinagpasensyahan ko. Ang ginawa ko, binablock ko yung mga nambabash ng mga kung ano-ano para hindi ma-distract ang aking mga post, ano? Kasi nangahatak sila ng nangahatak yung mga DDS na yan ng kakampi. Hindi ko naman alam na ang aking mga friend pala ay merong mga DDS. So, nagkakaroon na kami ng mga trouble sa posting at saka sa mga comments, no? Hanggang sa merong isang matindi yata ang pagmamahal niya sa kanyang iniidolo. Gumawa ng Facebook na ang ginamit niyang wallpaper ay pagmumukha ko at saka yung aking mga identity. And pinagnanakaw niya yung aking mga posts at mga comments at sa kanya yung nilalagyan ng caption na katarantaduhan. Sa kanya ipupush yun, yung mga comments ko yun. Eto ngayon, ano ba kung nagsalita ako ng dugyot sa social media? Bakit niya minimension kung sino yung sinasabihan ko ng dugyot samantalang wala naman akong minimension doon sa aking salitang dugyot? Marami naman talagang dugyot, di ba? O, yung mga batang hindi naliligo, yung mga nanay na pinababayaan ang sarili dahil sa problema, nagiging dugyot na. Ay, bakit na-guilty siya? Bakit tinuturo niya yung kung sinong Poncio Pilato raw? Kaya yung ginawa ako ng kwento, kung ano-anong paninira ang ginawa sa akin, no? Kesyo ganito, ang anak ko daw ay ganito, ganyan, ganoon, ano? And then, ipinibenta na pala ang buhay ko sa halagang 10,000 hanggang 15,000. At pati identity ko ay ninakaw. Ano? At ipinush yun kung saan daw ako matatagpuan. Ha? Marami daw nagugutom ngayon, kaya kakagatin ang 10,000. Mawala lang daw ako sa mundo. No? Hindi ako natakot. Ikaw matatakot. Eh, wala naman akong ginagawang kasalanan at kung sino yung Poncio Pilatong yan na papatay sa akin. Iniintay ko. Abay, pasasalamatan ko pa. At dahil mawawala na ang problema ko dito sa Pilipinas na pagkalaki-laki na hindi ko malaman kung paano ko itutuwid ang mali. Ano? Oh. Ngayon, diyan na nag-umpisa. Kaya ako natuto na mag-live. Una, ang nilalive ko yung mga ayuda daw na dapat ay ipinamimigay sa lahat. Aba, isang lahat ba ngang nakatanggap? Ay hindi naman. Eh kami dito ay 500 plus, no? 454 kami dito. Pero ang nakatanggap lang siguro nasa 20 hanggang 30. Ano nang natira? Nasaan na yung natira sa 454 na iyan? At bakit halagang 30 lang ang nabigyan, no? 30 lang ang bilang ng nabigyan. So, paano hindi ako magre-reklamo? Eh, ako ang pinagre-reklamuhan dito sa tindahan ko ng mga taong hindi nabigyan. No? So, para makarating sa kinauukulan niyan, sapagkat hindi naman natin mahagip-hagip ang mga taong may concern dyan, na dapat ay gumagawa ng hakbang para hulihin yung mga magnanakaw na yan ng staff, ay hindi natin yan mapuntahan, ha? Sapagkat lockdown. No? Eh, kung hindi lang lockdown, hindi ako nakasok doon sa DILG para magreklamo ko daw kung sino yung hindi nagbibigay ng SAP, di ba? Eh, hindi makaalis. So, anong gagawin ko? Gagamitin ko ang social media, mananawagan ako. Nag-live ako ngayon. No? Yung live kong mga una, dalawa, dinidelete ko rin after na mabasa ko. No? Pero ang binabanatan ko, yung babae na gumawa ng fake account na ako ay ipinapapatay. Eto ngayon. Pagkatapos ko i-delete yun, may nag-send naman sa akin sa messenger na ako daw ay binabanatan na naman ng babaeng fake na yun.
Aling Marie. Ano po, ikakat ko po muna kayo, no, bilang nagkukulang na rin po tayo sa oras, no. Mamaya po maaari nating balikan sa ating last messages, no, yung inyong mga sentimento. Maraming salamat po sa inyong pagbabahagi. Ayan. Now balik po tayo kay Dean. The petitioners were saying that the law poses a danger on human rights. But my question is, how do you think can we address terrorist activities in the country or concerns on terrorism in the country, given the fact that there have been attacks in recent years? So isang example niyan yung Marawi siege a few years back. And I think this is a legitimate concern kasi naranasan yun ng mga kababayan natin sa Mindanao. So without the passage of the anti-terror law, how can we address the concern on terrorism?
Okay, so we have to remember that even before the Anti-Terrorism Act of 2020, there was already an existing law, the Human Security Act. While there are questions as to the effectivity of the same law, there are also questions as to whether the matter would only fall on the implementation or the enforcement aspect. And while we agree that acts of terrorism and terrorism by itself should be countered, should be stopped, at any point, at anywhere, whether online or offline as well, because we also know the links of terrorism, maybe online from the outside. But then again, there are there are there are acts or the acts of online people, particularly the concerned online citizens here, who may be susceptible or they are vulnerable to being tagged as a terrorist or tagged as a terrorist sympathizer by simply doing an act. And uh, answer your question of how do we address terrorism? So we have to properly define what constitutes terrorism and acts of terrorism. And we also know that we have existing laws also that would that would point to a specific act, not simply a general or a vague definition that would be susceptible to many interpretations by the law enforcement officers. And if we have to look into, I was listening to the analysis of sponsors of the bill or the law before, and like Senator Lacson and other senators or congressmen who sponsored the bill, and they were talking about uh, the implementation or enforcement more. So if we go into the spectrum of the criminal justice system in the Philippines, here we can see that it is not simply the enforcement, but there are many aspects of the of the pillars of the criminal justice system that has to function here, and the community can properly help as well in reporting and reporting, for instance, individuals who may be engaged in terrorism or terroristic activities, and online if there is an available data about persons doing activities online. I think this online people can also report to the proper authorities, and that is where we can see how this pillar of the community pillar, for instance, can help in the criminal in the pillars of the criminal justice system. We also know that also here the enforcement officers have the function to do, and but the function to enforce the law or implement the law would sometimes be problematic when the definition of the law itself is questionable or vague. That would be subject to interpretation. So void for vagueness and overboard, meaning to say na ang ating batas, ang definisyon ng ating batas ay hindi masyadong maintindihan ng isang mamamayan, at ito ay subject sa interpretasyon ng isang individual na police, for instance. And maraming mahalagang bagay ang dapat natin pagtuunan ng pansin dito, at ang pagpasa ng batas na hindi naman ini-implement, minsan isang problema din yon. Kahit gaano kaganda yung batas natin, kung hindi naman implement ng maayos, yun ay isang problema. So as to the curbing of terrorism and terroristic activities, as I said earlier, we as Filipinos, we as a state or a country should take part in helping curb this transnational crime of terrorism. And this is not simply a problem of the Philippines. This is a problem that is worldwide, and I think right now the passage of the this particular law does not necessarily answer the problems that were experienced based on the implementation of the Human Security Act. So, and it will lead to more problematic situations when the law that is being implemented is vague or void from the very beginning.
Shari?
All right, attorney. Now, my question is for Sir Tonyo. I'm asking you this question as a media practitioner also. All right. Sir Tonyo?
Yes.
All right. Yes. The definition, according to critics ho ito, that definition stated in the Section 4 of the law already provides a safeguard for the freedom of speech and expression. It specifically says that provided that terrorism as defined in this section shall not include advocacy, protest, dissent, stoppage of work, industrial or mass action, and other similar exercises of civil and political rights, which are not intended to cause death or serious physical harm to a person, to endanger a person's life, or to create a serious risk to public safety. Ngayon, ang sinasabi ho ng ilang mga proponents ng batas na ito ay meron namang safeguards na in-include sa law na ito no, para maprotektahan ng ating kalayaan sa pamamahayag. So with that being said, do you still think that the law poses a threat to our freedom of expression?
Actually, yung mga activities na yon, yung gustong i-criminalize ng batas na to, it's a slip of the tongue. Kasi yung mga organizers, organizations, individuals that we expect would lead those types of mass actions are in fact, quote-unquote, they're the usual suspects. So, for example, if a labor union engages in a strike and that labor union is designated as a terrorist, tapos na. So, the exact same guarantee na sinasabi nila, yung exact same na exceptions, yun talaga yung target nila. Yun yung gusto nilang paggamitan ng batas na to. At pinagloloko lang nila tayo. Kasi who will organize those actions? The unions, the student organizations, the transport workers. Nakita naman natin kung paano sila tinatrato ng ating pamahalaan. O anong mga pangalan yung binabansag sa kanila. So, wag nila tayong pinagloloko. Gusto ko lang ibahin yung magpunta lang sa ibang direksyon. Shari, hindi natatakot yung mga terorista sa kahit anong batas. Gagawin nila yung gusto nilang gawin. Ginawa nila yung sa Marawi, ginagawa nila yung sa maraming parte ng Mindanao. Wala silang pakialam dito sa mga ginagawa ng ating gobyerno. Gagawin nila yung gusto nila. Hindi nga sila nagprotesta sa anti-terror law or sa anti-terror bill. Kasi hindi sila papaloob doon. They are more brilliant. They could be more brilliant than this government or any of the legislators. Our point is, itong law na to na sinasabi ng government na for terrorists, any way you look at it, pag tiningnan mo, matatakot ba dito yung mga terorista? Hindi. Ang matatakot dito, ang tatamaan nito, mga karaniwang tao na nagko-conduct ng kanilang civic. So, kailangan hindi na dapat patulan yung mga sinasabi na there are assurances or there are exceptions. Those acts, precisely, could be in danger. Kasi anybody could be tagged. Anybody could be designated.
All right. Now, Sir Tonyo, bago pa itong passage ng anti-terror law, nakita na natin that there are social media users who were airing their concerns on their own platforms na hinaina ng subpoena o kaya naman ay hinaras ng ilang mga otoridad. Now, naniniwala ba kayo na maaaring palalain ng anti-terror law ang ganitong karanasan ng ilang mga netizens?
Nung pinirma nito ni Presidente, nagkaroon kaagad ng protest actions UP. At ano ang nakita natin mula sa isang opisyal ng gobyerno na ang pangalan ay MOCA, ang sabi kaagad niya, nag-post siya sa Twitter. Ayan na ang mga terorista, kasama yung picture ng protesta sa UP. Yung ganitong klaseng mindset na meron sa ating gobyerno, ay napakadelikado. Ginagamit nila yung kahit anong batas para sa mga legitimate dissent. Yung isang example na hindi ko makakalimutan, meron sa Mindanao, sa isang barangay sa Mindanao, na katulad ni Aling Marie, nagreklamo online, nagpost siya sa Facebook na hindi sila nakatanggap ng ayuda, maggulo yung pagbibigay ng ayuda. Alam niyo kung ano yung ginawa ng barangay nila? Dineclare siya na isang residente, dineclare siya na persona non grata.
Oh?
This is absurd. It is insane. Why would you declare a resident of your own barangay persona non grata? sana sinolve mo na lang yung problema niya. Sana pinakita mo na lang yung list ng nakatanggap ng ayuda. Whether yung pagkain or yung shop. That's sa example. Noong SONA, merong 4 sa Bulacan na inaresto dahil sa online protest. Nagpo-protest sila sa loob ng bahay, pero inaresto sila. Ano? Diba? We should be secure in our own homes. We should be secure in our own homes against unreasonable searches and seizures. Ano yun eh? Constitutional right yun. Walang pakialam yung gobyerno sa nagaganap sa ating bahay. Lalo na nag-exercise tayo ng political rights. Inaresto pa rin sila. So, yung ganitong mga gawain ng ating pamahalaan, hindi nagbibigay sa akin o sa mga petitioners ng kumpiyansa na responsable nilang gagamitin yung anti-terror law laban sa terorista. Ginagamit talaga nila yung mga batas laban sa mga karaniwang tao.
Alright. Maraming salamat po. Ngayon, I'm going back to Dean. Dean, ito ho ang aking katanungan para sa inyo. Ano ang inaasahan ninyong maging tugon ng Korte Suprema dito sa petisyon na hinain ninyo? But first, baka pwede ninyong ibahagi sa amin, no? Ano ba yung, kumbaga, extent ng power nitong pagpa-file ng petisyon na ito?
Like this particular petition that we filed, this is the 21st petition. So mean to say may 20 na file previously, and there were consolidations done already in the previous cases. I am not yet sure of the consolidation na nagawa pa. And what we are filing this particular case as a direct action before the Supreme Court. Ang sinasabi nga po natin dito, this matter is of transcendental importance. I mean to say na ang paramount interest dito ng mga tao at ang konstitusyon mismo. At sinasabi natin dito na ang konstitusyon ay the supreme law of the land. And yung mga batas na ginawa ng ating legislatura ay sasaludo or should bow down to the supreme law of the land, that is the Constitution. And so if the particular law is contrary or goes against the basic precepts or concepts in the Constitution, then it must be declared as null and void. And that is our prayer before the court. And we are hoping that this proceeds. And considering, I think this is one of, I think this is not only the one, but historically this petition is the pinakamarami na petitions against sa batas or sa enacted law in the Philippines, and it would only emphasize about its importance, about the questions that are being raised against this existing law. And of course, we're praying that this particular law will be put aside for the meantime while the case is being heard, and our prayer that it will be declared null and void, of course.
Alright. Sadly, no, ayan lamang po yung oras na meron tayo sa ating programa. Muli, maraming salamat sa ating mga panauhin, Dean Rodel, Aling Marie, and Sir Tonyo. No? This time around, we are going to have some last words sana mula sa inyo. Few words before we end, before we close the program. Magsimula tayo kay Aling Marie.
Maraming salamat po sa pag-invite nyo sa akin dito. At sana po suportahan tayo ng maraming mamamayan sa ating petisyon upang maibalik na tayo sa ating normal na buhay. Walang kinatatakutan na ano pa mangyayari sa atin kahit tayo'y maglakad mag-isa sa lansangan. At sana po ay magkaroon tayo ng tamang proteksyon mula sa ating mga kapulisan, sa ating mga militar, at huwag tayong gamitan ng anti-terror bill na yan, sapagkat yan ang napakalaking pagkakamali ng ating gobyerno ang maglagay ng ganyan, sapagkat kailanman ang teroristang totoo ay hindi ang mga Pilipino, bagkus mga dumadayo ang terorista na dapat pinaghahandaan ng terror bill na iyan. At sana naman, ang tunay na terorista, hindi dapat, hindi ganyan, paglalagay ng kanilang sariling proteksyon. Ang mga terorista na matuturing ko ay kung sino ang nagtatag ng batas na yan sapagkat sa kanya lang yan ipoprotect yung terrorism bill na iyan. Salamat po.
Thank you po, Aling Marie. Kayo naman po, Sir Tonyo.
I would like to address fellow internet users. If this is really a law against terrorism, we should feel more protected. But this terror law protects a very few in power, and we give them, and the law gives them more power. And us, and as far as we are concerned, nire-reduce yung ating rights. So, napakalaking bagay na labanan natin at suportahan natin lahat ng 21 petitions na final. Dapat sa bansa natin, ang matakot yung mga kurakot, yung mga mamamatay tao, yung mga pedal ng fake news, yung mga traidor, yung mga magnanakaw. Hindi dapat yung mga tao na naninita, na nagreklamo, naninita sa mga ganong klaseng mga masasama. So ipaglaban natin yung internet freedom. Paglaban natin yung ating freedom both online and offline.
Alright. And kayo naman po, Dean Rodel.
First of all, thank you very much, Shari, and to now, for inviting us here this evening. And for everyone who is watching here, nais ko lang po sabihin na ang ating karapatan, sabi nga ni Tonyo, doesn't distinguish whether you're online or you're offline. So we are protected by the Constitution and the laws of the Philippines. And isang panawagan lang po that we always have to use social media and the internet in a proper way, in such a way that we are contributing to this country, and in such a way that we do not step upon the rights of other people. That we always have to remember that that's basic, that think before you click, and always remember that your rights, while you have your rights, you also have your responsibilities. So be a responsible online citizen, be a responsible online Filipino, and be a responsible Filipino citizen. Thank you very much, Harry.
Right. And para sa ating mga online viewers, thank you so much for joining us in this episode of Legal Basis. Catch us live here on our Facebook page sa NYK every Sunday po yan at 6 o'clock p.m. And of course, you can join our Facebook group, Legal Basis with Shari Olikino. Search nyo lang, lalabas po yan. Once again, this has been Shari Olikino for Legal Basis. Now you know.